They have very interactive computer games where they creating their stories every time they make a decision, right? They have very immersive VR. They have a lot of social media, and it's all on the screen in a digital world. So we think we don't need to compete with that. We need to use all the power of digital world and bring it from screens to physical spaces to live experiences and tell stories that actually use the same approach. That's what we call mixed reality storytelling.
Tap into innovation at IAAPA Expo, the biggest industry event of the year.
Join us and other Attraction Pros in Orlando, Florida, November 18th to the 22nd to engage with the global community.
Learn from the experts, leave with new ideas, and turn your passion for the industry into new possibilities.
Register now using the link in the show notes to save up to 30%.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman. I am obsessed with the guest experience and helping attractions make that their top priority for success.
And I'm Matt Heller. I am passionate about organizational effectiveness, leadership development, and employee engagement.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros podcast. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going fantastically today, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. Question for you.
You got it.
Have you ever been on the show America's Got Talent?
Have I ever been on the show? Well, let me think. I'll go back into my memory banks. No, I never have. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever watched it?
Yes, I've watched it a couple of times.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason I ask is because our guest today, Val Syganevich, has in fact been on the show America's Got Talent.
And why was he on the show?
Well, so Val Syganevich, he is the president and co-founder of Freckled Sky, which produces spectacular themed entertainment and events. And well, I'll let Val tell the story in further detail because it's such a fascinating story. But he had just moved to the United States from Ukraine. This was a little over 10 years or so ago, and they were getting their company off the ground. And they had built some initial traction and received an invitation from the network to come appear on the show. And then that naturally turned into some more inbound phone calls for the company that ultimately one thing led to another, and that became the production company that they are today.
It makes me want to go back and Google that performance. I'm sure it's out there somewhere that we could see. And also, just looking at the Freckled Sky website, to me, it's very inspirational in terms of the creative content that you're seeing. And just, I can imagine being at one of those events. And he talks about, mixed reality storytelling and how, getting people together and putting people in environments is really what they're all about, and giving people what I would call maybe a visceral experience.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think of mixed reality in terms of this podcast, I'm thinking now several years back when we had Kevin Williams on, and I remember he kind of broke down the difference of virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. And so first, I suppose if you haven't heard that episode, you can go back and listen to it. But we also get to hear Val's definition of that as well. And as he goes deep into that, he talks about competing with the digital world. So Freckled Sky, of course, is in the themed entertainment space, which we think of theme parks, we think of attractions, we think of live events. And when we think of the digital world, we think of screens, we think of VR headsets, and we think of the edges, very much the border around that. And he says that they kind of want to compete with the digital world to really show that the real world is where, I guess, is where the magic happens. I can't think of any other better way to phrase that, as
Right.
That's really what it is. Yeah.
So is that real world reality?
I think so. I think maybe that's just reality.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I really enjoyed hearing Val talk about was kind of the power of what if. And you'll hear that peppered throughout the conversation when we ask him about certain things about his creative process and the history of his career and Freckled Sky. He will often say, well, what if we came together and said, what if we could do this and what if we could do that? And I loved how he said, we're dreamers. And I'll let him kind of tell the rest of it, but just the fact that he and his team are so focused on just creating great content, great products, great events, and there's almost nothing stopping them from, just kind of the sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, too, he talks about how the war in Ukraine has impacted, him emotionally and his team and his family, and talked about, what they've done as a business. It hasn't impacted their projects per se, but he does talk about, a project that was able to kind of bring some of their team and their family in, and it's a heartwarming story that he actually shares.
It really is. It really is. So should we go ahead and let Val tell the rest of the story and get to this interview?
Let's do it. Hey, Val, welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. We are really excited to talk to you today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So to get this kicked off here, can you give us a quick introduction? Tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about your career.
Okay, so absolutely. My background, I started as my primary occupation. I was a programmer, and I worked as a programmer for 4 months, and then just I realized that it was very boring for me. Then I tried myself in different industries, in different roles. So I tried myself as a graphic designer, and then I realized it was not my path. And I spent a lot of time in interior business and architectural business in different roles. And at the same time, I started my career in entertainment, but in different type of entertainment. So I tried myself in the comedy show back in Ukraine, and that's where actually I met Volodymyr Zelensky, and we shared stage a few times with him. Yeah, but he was just more talented person than myself, and I ended up with being a producer behind the scenes, my team. So it was this comedy show. It was a dream. So I really wanted to lead us somewhere, and we had a dream to get to the highest level of this comedy show. And actually, it was a very enthusiastic program. So there were 2 different teams competing with each other on different levels, in the school level, in the college level, and then after that on the country level. So it's a combination of stand-up comedy, improv, and a little bit of I would say like Saturday Night Live-ish vibe. So few teams competing with each other on the stage. So we had a dream to get to the highest level, as I mentioned, and in 2001 we got to the the highest TV stage there. It was in Moscow at that time. So, and that's actually where Volodymyr Zelensky also was at the same time in the same show. So, and then I realized that so people that were managing this show, actually they didn't want us to be. It was not like America's Got Talent, for example, where you compete and they just you show your talent, and because of your talent you can go somewhere, etc., and you can turn your career into something else. No, it was not. So it was kind of a puppeteer behind this show, and I just didn't see potential there. And then that's where we decided to start looking for something else. And as a comedy team, we were invited to different corporate events, performing different gigs, etc., and realized, what if we create our own event agency? So what if we turn it into more a business model? And we started doing this in different forms. We tried, etc., etc. And then in a few years from that, and it was in Kharkiv, second biggest city in Ukraine. And then we moved in Kyiv, in the capital city. And we started working with biggest brands there. We got a lot of different awards, which was very surprising for us. So that's actually was before we established Freckled Sky. And in all those moments, last 10 years of those career, I was mostly a producer, project manager. So that's my kind of background before we started Freckled Sky.
That's so interesting how you had a couple of different kind of opportunities to dip your toe in the water of different careers that kind of led you then to the career in comedy and entertainment. I'm curious, is there anything kind of back from your childhood even that, you know, you could say, hey, I could see myself as a comedian, or I could see myself as an entertainer back from, you know, how you grew up?
So there were almost no entertainment in the Soviet Union at that time, right? So we had a couple of TV channels and very limited choices for programming. And actually, I was in love in music, and we had a band, of course. And the second thing was I tried myself as a comedian in school. So I loved all comedy shows, watching on TV, and we didn't watch any Western comedy shows at all. We didn't have them that time. So it was all based on our Soviet Union comedians' talents. So basically there were two things, and that's exactly what we're trying to do right now. We're in entertainment. We've been doing a lot of musical things, and we've been trying to do also some comedy things as well.
That's really interesting. So as you kind of progressed from that, what then led to the founding of Freckled Sky?
It's a good question. So last couple of years, when we had our experiential event agency in Ukraine, we met our partners, so the multimedia production company, and we fell in love in multimedia, and we started using their technologies in all our creative approaches. And we started proposing them to clients, new ideas, new formats. And unfortunately, we were not able to find any clients for this particular scope of work, almost. And then it came to the moment we realized that something's wrong. So we need to, first of all, we need money, right? So we need to have contracts. And we were thinking about we should either change it to a little bit less creative without any media-based things, or we can find a new market. And we just realized that, yeah, we want to find a new market, and we decided, okay, it was seriously like that. Let's go to the United States. And if we are successful in the United States, then we are successful in the entire world. And we started this process, and during the next couple of years, we just kind of were ready to move to the United States. And we started talking to different people from event industry, asking them advice, etc., etc. And almost no one kind of supported us, besides couple of people, because almost anyone said, you will never sell your creative to in the US to like Western people. But we tried. So so we moved to the United States. We borrowed $5,000 from my friend. We didn't speak English. We didn't know anyone here. We almost didn't have friends, and we didn't know any industries. But the idea was, as we knew how the event industry works, this how to work with brands, we decided, what if we start providing services to event agencies, not to final clients, to event agencies. That was our initial approach, and actually that's how we started. So we moved here. Our partners, they helped us with the building the website and portfolio, and we started reaching out different event agencies because it was easier to find contacts of event agencies rather than final clients. So yeah, that's the overall story of that.
Yeah. And then Val, where did the name Freckled Sky come from?
Okay, so when we started looking to name, so our founders we are family. So it's me, my wife, and my sister. And my father, he was a poet, and he issued just one book, and the name of this book was Upside Down World. So we started thinking about a name, something that exists in this upside down world. So basically we came up with a few different options, and Freckled Sky was one of them. And that's how we decided. So because Freckled Sky exists in this upside down world.
That's so interesting. We always love hearing those stories where companies get their names, and it's usually always something very unique. And it sounds like it's something that's very very close to the heart for you and for your family as well. So so thank you for sharing that. So tell us a little bit then, about maybe more into those early days and how you were able to build some traction and get some clients and really start to build a business.
Yeah, so it was very tough time. The first year, again, didn't speak English. My wife started working on different jobs to helping us to survive, and I was trying to do business. So first of all, I was able to write one email per day, roughly. So and I started realizing how to find clients. And I've been doing this almost for a year. And again, I've been learning English a lot, 6 hours per day, 5 days a week. But nothing happened. I had some meetings and nobody cared. And it was very surprising for me because we had a lot of hopes for the United States. And we realized that it was even more conservative probably, even than we had clients in Ukraine, and then magic happened. American dream, seriously. So we were invited to America's Got Talent, and actually we didn't realize at the very beginning that it was an invitation to participate in the show. We thought it was our first client. So we were trying to, again, and because of our English skills, it was also kind of affected that as well. So, but when we realized that it's a invitation to a show, to participate in the show as a participant, we started thinking how we can do it. And we very quickly came up with the general approach. So it's a live performance with performers on stage, with water, and it has never been done before in indoor space, and with on America's Got Talent as well. So we started putting some numbers together, and the entire formula was, we had a production team based in Ukraine, creative team based in Ukraine, and there were just 3 of us here in the US. Even that time, maybe 2. Yeah, because my sister was in Ukraine that time. And we realized that we needed $15,000. I negotiated everything with my partners in Ukraine. So we still needed $15,000 to put everything together. We didn't have money. And my wife said, let's sell an apartment. We had an apartment in Kyiv. And it was a revolution started that time in Kyiv. So again, the market went down, but anyway, we started production. We still didn't have money, and then we, at almost the very end of the production process, we sold the apartment and we invested that to America's Got Talent. And then we produced the piece. We showed the piece, a recording of the piece, to producers, and they say, yes, okay, fly over to Los Angeles. And we came to Los Angeles to the TV show recording. And I remember that time we were, the day before the show recording, we were entering the Dolby Theater, and we realized that, okay, so we are in a place where all the Oscars happen. Oh my God. Yeah, so it's a very interesting story happened there. It was a very complicated setup of different equipment, etc., etc., etc. So, and it took about 4-5 hours to build that, because we needed to show that everything works before the early morning, next morning recording. And there were 100 people, crew, stage crew, all in black, all union people were working on that, even didn't know what they were building. So, and then producer came to me and said, okay, it's 10 minutes before the midnight, we need to run. And I said, you are not ready, because we need to, it's not ready yet. And he called someone, they called someone, etc., etc. So they gave us another hour. And I even can imagine how much money they spent on this hour. But anyway, an hour from that, he said, right now or never. So we said, yes, of course. So all those 100 people come out from the stage to the audience. They sit down, and lights went down, silence, water starts falling down, 2 minutes piece, just 2 minutes performance. And they were all just jumped and started applauding. And that's when I realized, so we did it. So next day it was the show recording, and we got golden buzzer, and I even didn't know what is that. So I didn't know who was, I'm sorry, all the judges were. So yeah, that's how we started.
That is so cool, just to hear, like you said, the American dream on America's Got Talent, and to be in that building where all that really cool stuff happens. How did that then progress from America's Got Talent to kind of building the business and, getting your name out there, and having people now call you and be able to put on all the creativity that you've been wanting to get out there?
Yeah, so when the show was aired, I got a call in 10 minutes. I started getting calls from in 10 minutes after that, seriously. And honestly, we didn't know what to do with that, because people saw us as performers in first place, not as a production company. And it was surprising. So actually, we started getting projects like that. So because we got viral all over the globe, we started working again, our first project was in Ukraine, the second one was in Chicago, and then we had a few projects in Turkey, and then we started working all over the globe. But anyway, so it was all about small performances. Most of them were custom based, so we tailored them for specific clients' needs. And it was pretty good money, but not big. So then we started, in about a year from that, we started working in music. And it's a different story. So because we had our creative team of creative directors, very experienced in that. They were they have done a lot of music projects before. They were working in TV projects also as just a creative team. They worked in The Voice, Dancing with the Stars in Ukraine, just directing a lot of live performances, and again a lot of other music productions. So we started hunting music projects, and from just producing media content, because all our shows were media based, to becoming more and more creative company. So we went up to big TV projects, like we did a show for Pink, for example, at Brit Awards. We redesigned our initial show for America's Got Talent for that as well. So we started working in this direction, but until COVID started, actually it was all about like that. we didn't do like big full productions before that. And when the COVID started, we started thinking what's next. And that's where we discovered themed entertainment industry. We discovered permanent productions, permanent installations, permanent shows, and attractions as well. We didn't know that time what to do with attractions, but we do now. We do know now. And also, we started thinking about developing our own original content, our original experiences, our original shows. So basically, that's the paths we went through.
Okay.
That's really interesting. Can you talk a little bit about how COVID brought you into the themed entertainment space? Because that almost seems backwards, and that's when a lot of people were trying to shift. People in themed entertainment were saying, "Okay, how do we do things more virtually and less in person?" But you took the opposite approach.
Yeah. So of course, we did a lot of virtual things. We invested to a few different virtual productions, promoting them, and it didn't work for us, at least, because we were not a technical company. We were a creative company, and there were so little space for creative companies at that time. And we were hunting more for music projects, and it was a big battle there. But at the same time, we started talking to different people. And the good thing about COVID is Zoom, because before that, it was more about phone calls, but we do visual content. We need to show stuff, right? So that's why it was very hard for us before COVID to kind of get someone on a video call, like Skype, something like that. But during COVID, it became normal, right? And that's how we started talking to different people. And actually, right 2 weeks before COVID started, we almost signed a big deal with a big music management company. And I also met a lot of people in Los Angeles. And some of them, it happened during COVID, they were former Cirque du Soleil employees. And they were on the business development side of that. So actually, they were partially in themed entertainment. And they just, as friends, they just introduced us to TA and IAAPA. And they said, there's an industry, and there are two great associations, and take a look. And that's exactly what we did. So we joined TA and IAAPA the same year. It was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And that's how it started.
That's so cool. You know, it's interesting you mentioned Zoom, because Josh and I were also using Skype until COVID, and then we started using Zoom as well. So it's definitely been a game changer for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Val, if you can go a little deeper into what you call mixed reality storytelling.
Yeah. So again, during COVID, we started hearing all those XR, VR, etc., AR. We knew all of that, but not XR. So XR was a new term. It's extended reality. So again, we tried digital and virtual productions, fully digital virtual productions, and we realized that it's not us. We are in live experiences, live entertainment, live experiences, attractions, whatever, in our real world. But we also had our own unique creative expertise, how we merge physical and digital worlds, how we tell stories by using technologies but not showing technologies. And when we started thinking how to make us different from others, from competitors, because we didn't want to compete with big companies, we knew it was, it's hard because, you're smaller and they were bigger. They had more people, more power, more money, more awareness. So, but we are different. So we decided, what if we kind of be brave, and we started saying that we are different, and we needed to come up with something that kind of can differentiate us from them. And that's how we came up with this term, mixed reality. But we realized that, again, all what's happening in virtual production was also mixed reality, right? Because they were like live people, digital environments, etc. So it's a risk, and it was a risk. So what is the mixed reality storytelling? There are a couple of things, and this is how we see the world. So first of all, we are storytellers, and I mean all of us are storytellers. I mean every person is a storyteller, but in reality, we believe that best storytellers are books and movies. And every time we do something in our real life experiences, we simplify storytelling. Maybe theater is less simplified, but as we see right now, theater is not so popular, like for new generation. And the simple example is when you're watching a movie about any superhero, for example, Spider-Man. You see a real Spider-Man on the screen, even if you understand that they don't exist in our real world, but you believe in that moment because of the quality of production. When it comes to a show, live experience about a Spider-Man, you don't see the exact Spider-Man anymore. You see an actor in a costume of Spider-Man, pretending being a Spider-Man, hanging on a wire, pretending flying. So it's not real Spider-Man. You don't believe that this is real Spider-Man. You are pretending that this is real Spider-Man. But honestly, you don't believe in that. So as you believe when you were watching a movie, and this ruins the entire illusion of the storytelling. But we really believe that it's not fair because we have all the power, and we have a lot of proofs of that, how to tell stories without ruining these illusions. Because again, movie productions, it's all about illusions. It's unfortunately, dragons and castles don't exist. It's all green screen post-production. So this is one thing. The other thing is, so this is my son. He's 16 years old. He was born with a smartphone in his hand. He has never seen the world without a smartphone. And what they have, this generation, they have very interactive computer games where they creating their stories every time they make a decision, right? They have very immersive VR. They have a lot of social media, and it's all on the screen in a digital world. So we think we don't need to compete with that. We need to use all the power of digital world and bring it from screens to physical spaces to live experiences and tell stories that actually use the same approach. That's what we call mixed reality storytelling. We really want us to meet in physical spaces where we live and communicate without any additional devices, without any VR goggles, AR gadgets, or screens, because we hide screens, we incorporate them so they are not visible.
So I'm wondering maybe we could go just a little bit deeper into this, because on LinkedIn, on your profile, your header says, "Don't believe in metaverse without live entertainment." Is this all intertwined here with mixed reality storytelling?
Yeah, it's my yeah, actually, like internally, I want to compete with digital world, of course, but this is just about that. So actually, the only way how we compete with digital world, to use all the power of digital world and make something more than that in our real life experiences, it can be totally different, of course. But as we see right now, young generation, and they will be our audience for the next 5, 10, 15 years, they cannot stand that. So they need digital type of experiences. And if we give it to them in the form of social media or VR, meaning we still kind of putting them in the same environment where they actually most of the time. So we think we can do just better than that. So we want to beat metaverse because we use metaverse and do something else.
So that's really interesting too, because I see and I get to work with a lot of young people, and what you're saying about the fact that they have the screen and they have the device is true, but I'm also seeing quite a few people almost rebelling against it, right? And saying, I don't want the screen as much. So, it's really interesting to hear kind of how you're kind of positioning the entertainment and the events that you're talking about. So I'm curious, would you see a world where I know you're talking about, still having the screen, and kind of incorporating that, but would you see a world where maybe the screen isn't really part of it? That's kind of what you talked about earlier. But I'm just kind of curious where that goes, like in the future, like if you think of the future of events and entertainment.
Um, yes and no. So again, it really depends. I really believe that what we have right now, the biggest issue we have right now is the digital world is always on the screen, and when you have digital experience, you see edges of the screen again, or VR goggle, whatever, right? You have something physical that actually separate our physical world from the digital world. And I think when we start doing, let's say, this mixed reality storytelling, where we connect those two worlds without showing these edges of screens, and when it's enough for such an experiences, then maybe we can have another circle, and then we will start doing this again without any screens at all. I think this is how it should work, as in my opinion.
Val, can you give us a glimpse into your creative process? Kind of how does your brain work towards kind of envisioning these types of ideas that lead to these amazing productions and blending everything that we're talking about here as well?
So I am not a creative person I mean, I would say I a little bit of creative, of course, but I'm not the creative lead in our team. So we have a great team of creative directors, and they usually, that's interesting, there's three of them. They call three direction, and they work always together. So basically 99% of our projects they've done with their creative. And because, as I mentioned, we had a little bit of TV background, live entertainment, and music background, that's actually how we use all of that to produce our pieces. So basically, there are two potential options when we work with client and don't work with client, when we do something original. The creative process is we just know techniques. Actually, it's up in our NDA right now. When we're coming up with an idea, we are trying to use those techniques, and they are very simple. There are illusions. So it's a right storytelling and illusions. So basically, you never know if it's a real person interacting with the real chair, for example, or a virtual chair, because it doesn't matter. So we try to establish those rules, how the audience sees that, so they follow that and they believe that it's all true. So the creative process is simple as probably as any other creative process. There is an idea, and then we'll discuss it together, and or a few ideas, and then we all discuss it together. And most of the time, 99%, we choose the right idea. Again, in our history. So that's kind of like that.
Val, I'm curious, when you talk about that creative process and you have that team that is working on those projects, when they all come together and you said you 99% of the time you make the right decision. I would imagine during that process, there's a lot of those sort of blue sky, big picture ideas that just kind of get thrown out there, and some will make it into the project and some will make it, kind of onto the cutting room floor, if you will. Have there ever been any of those ideas that you really thought were going to be great and they ended up just not working?
I would say no. So basically, we have a lot of developments right now going on right now, our original ones. So everything we've done for clients worked well, I would say. And what we are doing right now, again, developing our own standalone experiences and food and beverage experiences and all others, we don't know yet. So we have shown them to a few different people from the industry as well, and we had a very great responses. But until we turn them into business that works, actually, I don't know yet. So right now, on the paper, they all look great. Looks great.
So Val, this is shifting gears a little bit, but you talk about your background and growing up in Ukraine, and coming here 10 years ago, and you talk about the time in Kharkiv and Kyiv and sharing the stage with Zelensky. Those cities and that name has been in the news quite a lot, over the last couple of years or so. And I'm wondering if you can share just a little bit about how the war in Ukraine has impacted your work.
So from the business point of view, it's not affected. Actually, we just had a pause for 2 weeks when the war started, and we just literally signed a big contract for a big project in Europe that time with a big name. And again, the war started. We had 2 weeks pause, and then we just continue working. So we had people, like 99% of our people based in Ukraine. And when the war started during those 2 years, we moved some people out of the country. So basically, maybe 50% of them are out of the country. Some of them are in Slovakia and Poland, most of them. And the rest are still in the country. We travel a lot. Who can travel? Women can travel from Ukraine, but men cannot. We are growing. We are hiring people from Ukraine. We continue hiring. It just literally posted last week a post. Yesterday a post of hiring another person from Ukraine. So emotionally, yes, we acted, of course, a lot. And there are a lot of things going on. We started investing into generators or Starlinks or something like that, so people can have independent power stations and connection to internet, etc., etc. But in terms of production, we never failed. So I would say we did great project last year with Disneyland Paris, and they helped us emotionally as well. So they invited families of our people who were working on the project to the park with kids. So it's hard emotionally, but from the business point of view, no, we're not affected.
Well, that's good to hear that you have not been affected from that standpoint. Although I understand emotionally and personally how it can be a big impact on your life and your world. I'm curious. There's something that I've noticed about some of your responses today, and you've said "what if" a lot. It feels like you say that as part of your thought process, right, or your creative process. What if we did this? What if we did that? And to me, it's a very open and kind of blue sky again kind of thought process. And I'm curious if that's something conscious that you do, or is that just kind of your personality, or is that something learned? I'm just curious where that comes from.
Yeah. So first of all, we are dreamers, and that's actually that moves us. We are dreamers, and we haven't done our best show yet, our best project yet. So we're turning into more designing experiences. Let's call it all attractions, because again, at the end of the day, it's all attraction, whatever is inside, right? It can be like a real attraction, dark ride, or can be a live show, or it can be walkthrough experience, doesn't matter. We all started calling all of that attraction. So we're dreaming about that. And that's actually our process. On the other hand, I really believe that there are no bad ideas at all. There are no bad stories. They're just bad executions or bad storytelling. So Romeo and Juliet, you can tell the story in 3 sentences, right? But it doesn't mean it's a good storytelling. So I really believe that how we do it much more important than what we do, because I mean we always can find what to say, what to tell, what story, etc. We can. It's not a problem. If it's a social story, we can tell it as a social story. If it's a business story, we can tell it as a business story. It's a music story, etc. So it's not about what, it's about how. And that's, I think, where we haven't done our best show yet, but we haven't told our best story yet. That's why maybe what if. So we want to do it.
Val, as we start to get close towards the end of this interview here, is there any career advice that you'd like to share to aspiring professionals in the themed entertainment space?
Okay, so I wouldn't call myself as a professional, because I think we all have a very different type of expertise. I just can share my personal vision. So just don't stop. Just continue doing what you love and just don't stop. And it's very hard. And maybe 99% of the time it's boring and not interesting stuff, but this 1% worth it.
I love that advice, and I think it also applies when you're not even sure what to do, right? You know, there's times when it, like you said, it might be boring or you don't like to do it, but there's also times, I know in my experience, where I'm just like, what do I do now? And so if you just keep taking a step forward, I think that don't stop advice is really, really applicable to so many different situations. So thank you for that, Val. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time today. This has been a fascinating conversation to hear about your story and your creative process. If people wanted to learn more about you or get in touch with you or learn more about Freckled Sky, where would you send them?
So right now to our website, but I hope we will update it very soon. And we are opening a new page on that website, starting telling our stories. So please go there.
Excellent. And that's freckledsky.com, right?
FreckledSky.com, yes.
Fantastic. All right, Val, I echo what Matt said. This is just such a fascinating conversation. We really appreciate the opportunity to get to learn all about you and all about Freckled Sky today. And for everyone out there who is watching and listening, just remember, we are all attraction pros.